What's up, gamers? We're back with another Yu-Gi-Oh video. This time, I'm here with the sequel no one wanted, and to ask the question that no one wanted the answer to: can the 5 strongest decks in Yu-Gi-Oh's history defeat pre-Ten Tails Madara? We have to specify pre-Ten Tails Madara because Ten Tails Jinchuriki Madara is a whole different breed. So, first and foremost, we gotta lay down the ground rules as like before. We got a few sets of rules here. First and foremost, full power Performage Pendulum, Performer Power, however you call it. The Shizu Tier, Zodiac, Spiral, and Dragon Rulers are the chosen participants. Number 2, all 5 decks are considered at their full power in their respective Master Rule, meaning cards they had available at the time as well. Master Rule 5 for Shizu Tier, Master Rule 4 for Spiral, Master Rule 3 for Zodiac and Performer Power, Pendulums, and Master Rule 2 for Dragon Rulers. Rule 2.5, each deck will have a full turn, all in a randomized order, meaning everyone's rolling a dice to see who goes first. While they also get their own fields, because clogging one field with 5 decks is impossible. Second, this will also be each deck's first turn as well, and this is considered Madara with his EMS, the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. We will get to that, but he will not be the 10 Tails Jinchuriki. And finally, per time rules, this is a 45-minute match with siding. And big disclaimer, as I need to make it clear, I'm going to be exaggerating a lot of things and probably going to be wrong about stuff too. Please do not kill me for it. So, let's go over tier limits first. You did not see the second slide. As we go before, it was a deck that can play on turn 0. It was one of the most powerful decks in history because it was what the deck was capable to do. Very skill intensive. The mirror match, as you guys know, was the showcase of who was the better pilot and who can survive the most mental trauma. Now, it had the pure powerful fusion monsters like Kick Kalos, Kaleido Heart, and Rukulos, and Archetype. But they also had access to fusion monsters like Al Shaddai Winda, Predapent Dragostapelia, Fusion Grapha, and other powerful extra deck monsters like Time Thief, Redo, and Baron. Not only that, the Shizu monsters, when they were released in November of 2022, created quite the chaos for the deck. Madara and Keldo could shuffle 3 or 5 cards, right, from either graveyard, or you can build 5 cards with Cubek and Yugioh. That this deck was so dominant that it had to take multiple ban lists to make this deck finally go away, but it is still around because if at any point one tier limit monster comes back, the deck will immediately shoot up right to Rogue. So, next up, full power Spirals. This also created another tier 0 format. Deck was links climbing and spamming with powerful generic link monsters like Priorata Firewall Dragon, Borolo Dragon, and of course, that's in-arc type link monster, Double Helix. Now, Spiral as a strategy is as oppressive is due to the outside factors. There were a lot of cards in the game at the time that were not banned, that are banned but were legal during Spiral's reign of terror because it abused the mechanics of link summoning, while other decks kind of needed the extra monster zone. Understand, cards that made tokens like Goat, Blackwing go for the Vague Shadow, Grinder Golem. I think Scapegoat was still around at this time. You could just make a bunch of link monsters off of them, and with cards that could just bounce cards back. You can summon it again and keep it going. Right? It's great. And it also caused a emergency ban list where they hit Spiral Gear Drone and Spiral Quick Fix. That's it. That was it. Now, the reason that Spiral got to tier 0 was at the time it abused the early Master Rule 4 dynamics, where Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz monsters may only be special summoned to the EMZ or to a link monster that a link monster was pointing to. Right, as of right now, Master Rule 5, they can be summoned in the main monster zones or the extra monster zone, right? But not in Master Rule 4. So decks like Zodiac, which has been getting hits and hits over and over, right, can only occupy one Xyz in that extra monster zone. which sucked because you want to make 2 or 3 Xyz, right? And of course, True Draco at the time also went down in power, and because of that, Spirals came in. It's like, all right, ready to do this again. And here they were, right? Thankfully, it didn't last that long, but early Link era Yu-Gi-Oh! Was not fun because it went from Tier 0 to FTK formats. One after the other. It's not fun. Now, we're going full power Zodiacs. This deck is a deck that people didn't think would ever get power crept. It's a modern current day deck from 2016 to 2017. 1-card combos. Could play through through multiple hand traps. A small enough main engine where you can slot in as much non-engine as the deck could fit in. You could fit 15 main engine cards, 25 non-engine. Go crazy. Have fun with it, right? It circumvents the main summon mechanic that the game has made for its archetype, Xyz, where you need multiple materials to make 1 Xyz monsters. Their main gimmick, you just need 1 card. That was it. And of course, the deck was so consistent that it got other cards banned as well. MX Saber Invoker, which this deck got it banned for, could run a small rank 3 engine, right, because it was a generic rank 3, summon Zodiac Rapier from deck, and then you go full crazy off of that, right? It was just ridiculous, alright? It was just ridiculous. There was also some 60 card variants as well, right? You run True Draco 60 cards, Inferno 60 cards. Only reason you play 60 cards is because at the time, That Grass Looks Greener was a card that was released where if you had more cards than your opponent, you just mill until it matches the difference. So you played 60 cards, so your opponent can't mill, which is very funny, but because of how small the Zodiac engine was, right? You could just run it, and it's like, oh, well, if I didn't get to my Zodiac stuff, I still got the Inferno stuff, right? Right. There's that. Yeah, it was crazy. Fuck Rapier, by the way. Fuck Rapier. We got full power Pendulum Magicians, full power Performer Pals, Pepe, as it's most well known for. During Master Rule 3, right, where we didn't have the extra monster zone, if you had the right amount of scales, say 1 to 8, meaning you can summon monsters levels 2 to 7 between those scales, you could summon up to 5 monsters from your extra deck every turn, granted that they match the prerequisite between the pendulum scales. It was so powerful at the time that it caused the adjusted list, where OTS stores didn't have to follow, right? But it was the only adjusted list at the time where it got multiple cards hit, right? Now, this is, I believe, the second time it happened in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. The first time it happened was Cyberstein, but that was 1 card compared to multiple cards hitting the list, right? Now, before Pepe had access to a lot of cards, a lot of powerful cards. Ignis to Prominence, soft ones per turns on both of its effects, summon a Draco Slayer from deck, or destroy 2 cards on field. Which is really good, right? You can do it in the mirror, pop your opponent's scales. Well, they can't get to their scales. That's rough, right? You can make, in the OCG, they had Shockmaster legal, which got this deck banned, which that deck got it banned for, because you can make so many level 4s. Shockmaster can turn off monsters, spells, or traps effects until the end of your opponent's end phase, meaning if you make 2, declare monsters, declare spells. Mind you, we didn't have infinite impermanence at the time. It turns into a big problem at that point, right? And they can just do it again next turn. And then they can also just make Azathoth, because, why not, right? Teller Timaeus can just rank it up into Azathoth, which locks out monster effects. Or, if you value to negate, you go and rank up into Infinity, which is a rank 5, and then rank it up again into Nova. You go from Nova, and then you rank it up to Infinity, because you go from a rank 5 to a rank 6, and now you have a 3 material Cyber Dragon Infinity that can also take an opponent's card every turn. It's crazy. Full power Dragon Rulers. This one was quite the ones. So, Dragon Rulers, 4 sets of monsters. water, fire, earth, and wind. Level 7 dragons, and level 3 and I believe 4 of the little smaller dragons, right? From a design standpoint, they seem to support their associated attributes, right? That's, as I mentioned, fire, water, wind, and earth. Now, the thing about this deck is that it was very expensive. Not only that, they were very powerful, right? Who cares about the associated attributes, right? Just play all the dragons. Just play all the dragons. You're going to make a big Dracosack. You're going to end on 2 tokens. And what's your opponent going to do against that, right? It's crazy. It's crazy because the dragon rulers, at any point, you are in a like a pistol showdown. You are in a showdown right now. You can threaten lethal at any time. Activate Big Eye. Take your opponent's dragon ruler, right? Attack for game. Or, if at any point you didn't find sufficient enough dragons, well, your opponent can just kill you on the crackback, right? Now, this deck also revolutionized the way we deck build to this day. The idea is that you use your graveyard as a second hand, right? You know, you can banish 2 dragons from graveyard, right? Trigger the 2 banished dragon rulers, right? It's insane. And what ticked this deck off the most is they had Super Rejuvenation at 3. Super Rejuvenation red, that during the end phase, you draw cards equal to the amount of dragons you tributed or sent from the field to the graveyard this turn. It was not once per turn, so you could draw like 4, which draws into another Super Rejuve, which also draws into another Super Rejuve. You could draw like 11 at that point, right? It's insane. Not only that, but he also wanted to find level 1 tuners. In the mirror specifically, you wanted to find level 1 tuners because you want to make Crimson Blader. Crimson Blader, if it destroyed a monster by battle, locks your opponent from level 5 or higher monsters. Special summoning level 5 or higher monsters. Meaning, they can't summon the Dragon Rules, right? Or you can make Stardust Dragon, which is pretty good, you know. I believe Darkhold was still around, so you kind of want to do that. Now, because of how powerful the cards were, right? They were, of course, banned and limited and such, but they still kept 1 each around before they eventually killed them all off, right? You know, you had Blaster for Fire Fist, you had Tidal for Mermail, Redox was for Giga and Tempest. Well, I mean, there's Dragoonity, right? There's also, I believe, Mecha Beast, but nobody played that. Everyone played Dracosack. That's basically it, right? But they didn't want to officially kill all the Dragon Rulers off because they still value the ideas like, hey, you could also use these in attribute decks, right? You know, Titles of Water, you know. It's crazy, man. But that's just full power Dragon Rulers. And, well, that's all the 5 decks that Madara Uchiha is going to be facing in this. Now, as we know, Madara Uchiha, legendary leader of the Uchiha clan, right? Renowned as one of the strongest shinobi in history. He was a product of the time that he lived in, constant fighting and war. Not only that, he was a perfectionist. He loved to perfect the technique till he got it, made sure he got it down to the pinpoint. But once his brother died, everything changed about him. He wanted the world to change because to him, he wanted to save mankind. But he did that at the cost of everyone's free will. And of course, he eventually did succeed. Of course, the main heroes of Naruto, Sasuke and Naruto, did stop his plan. But he did succeed, if you think about it. Now, we gotta go through a lot of stuff about Madara because there is quite a lot because they kind of dragged out Shippuden, really. Madara, a lot of stuff that he can do. First and foremost, as you can see in this picture, he kind of just dragged down an astral or meteor-ish like thing during the Shinobi War because, you know, he could, right? Not only that, but during his time growing up, he was able to fight Hashirama for 24 hours straight before literally collapsing. That's insane. I don't know how you can do that. He also just defeated the five Kages of the whole land by himself because he was like that. And of course, when he got reincarnated, he had a modified body, of course. With the white Zetsu stuff, he had he had Hashirama's DNA, which augmented a lot of stuff. Gave him a healing factor, gave him access to the wood release that was only exclusive to the Senju line. And of course, he did have his gunbai, that big fan that he always waved around. He loved that thing. Of course, he didn't use that after he became the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, but we are still including this in the matchup. Now, he is most well known for two main fire release and wood release. He's mainly known for those because, well, that's all we ever seen him do. Now, he was able to create such giant flames to the degree that it was just, you need like 20 water releases, release users to even contain the water, as you can see down there. And you can make little fireball headed fireballs like that. Like, look at those little Dragon Ball heads. That's pretty cool, right? Now, of course, when he got some of Hashirama's DNA, he now had access to wood release, which is a mixture of earth and water, creating giant trees. You can make a giant wood dragon, right? That was cool as shit, dude. I'm gonna be honest. And of course, he can make the wood clones. Sensing beings, of course, own actions, free will. They can fight for him, be a distraction. It's pretty cool. It's pretty insane. And he did that almost like he was like born with it, Now, the main thing about Madara Uchiha is that he's an Uchiha. Crazy, I know. But it means he had access to the Sharingan. Now, the Sharingan had a plethora of things that allowed Madara to do a lot. Like sensing multiple targets from countries away, gives him enhanced sight and perception. He can see the colors of someone's chakra inside them. And not only that, the main thing, he can copy almost any technique he witnesses. Any ninjutsu, genjutsu, or taijutsu to perfect accuracy, but he must have the prerequisites to do it. Because of that, he can't copy someone's like Byakugan, for example, right? Because he doesn't have the Byakugan. But he could, or someone's, technically the Sharingan is known as a Kekkei, which is a DNA anomaly inside of a person. Remember Kikamaru? He can't copy Kikamaru's stuff. He doesn't have the little Kekkei. He can't manipulate his bones unless, Madara says, yeah, I can. But that's besides the point. The Sharingan also allowed Madara the ability to use Izanagi, the ability to turn reality into an illusion. This means Madara is allowed to undo events like taking fatal injuries or even faking his own death. Not only that, he even programmed Izanagi to activate after his death, resurrecting him. Like, come on, dude. That's insane, right? Now, the Mangekyou Sharingan and the Rinnegan. Now, the Rinnegan is one of the most powerful of the three main dojutsus. The Sharingan, the Byakugan, and the Rinnegan. Let's say Rinnegan's top dog. It gives Madara the ability to use the six path techniques: the Petra path, the Zero path, human path, the animal path, the Naraka path, and the Auto path, and the Deva path. For some reason, there's 7 techniques for the 6 paths, but that's not me. As you can see, it gives Madara a plethora of things to do. Some absorbs chakra, summons mechanized weapons for his disposal. He can read minds and take souls. He can summon animals, right? He can summon the King of Hell. King of Hell, I'll get in a second. The Outer Path allows him to revive the dead, and the Deva Path can manipulate attractive and repulsive forces and objects. That's essentially gravity manipulation. Now, the King of Hell has 2 abilities: interrogation and restoration. Madara can catch someone out and interrogate them and ask them a question. If they're honest, he's spared, right? If they're not honest, your soul's getting yanked by the King of Hell. Now, and not only that, but the King of Hell can do some restoration. It has to ingest the damaged body, and then after some time, spits them right out. Not only that, but the Renegon also gives them access to the Black Receivers, a black rod that transmits chakras into it. Now, say someone just stabs someone like 800 times with those black rod. What could it do? Well, that transmitted chakra inside that rock gets distributed inside that person's body, meaning that their chakra flow gets disrupted, and per how many rods you have them stabbed with, it could also disrupt their movement as well. Now, the Mangekyo Sharingan, which is what Madara had before the Renegon, enables the use of the Susanoo, the gigantic humanoid being serving as the user's guardian deity. While it also drains the user's life force and chakra, it's basically a giant sword mech. Speaking of the giant sword mech, this is what it looks like. It's cool as shit, big. It's blue, got multiple swords, or bro, it is saucy. Like, come on now, dude. This is not cool. It's not cool, right? It's pretty cool. Not only that, it got 4 arms. Like, come on, dude. It's the only one with 4 arms. That's not right. Susanoo is massive. It's comparable in size to the tailed beast at times. The size of it is just shaking a bit, but it is comparable to size to some of the tailed beasts. It has 4 arms and then multiple swords. You know, in the Ultimate Ninja Storm 3 game, it could also the swords could spin, so it's like a drill as well. Pretty sick. It also has its own shuriken attack in the form of the Yasaka Magatama, which is the little beads that you see Itachi throw at times too. Now, this is the matchup of the ages, ladies and gentlemen. The 5 versus 1 of all time. Understand, Madara has a plethora of ninjutsu, genjutsu, and he's also really good at taijutsu, despite the fact that we rarely see him fight hand to hand, except during the Shinobi War. Right? He defeated thousands of soldiers in the 4th war. Right? He literally dodged, disarmed, and counterattacks from multiple angles at once. Not only that, he could also blast foes with powerful bursts of fire, or summon the Wood Dragon to duke it out with a crazy healing factor because of the Hashirama DNA that he got inside of him. Not only that, the Renegon's insane. He got 7 abilities from the Sage of 6 Paths. He has various options at his disposal for tools in combat. He's known to use Shuriken. He has his Gunbai with him as well. He has a lot of Genjutsu to him in his arsenal. Madara can just cheat death like 2-3 times, you know. Now, each tier's deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Has multiple ways, in theory, stopping Madara. Dryden can pop something. Pepe could Shockmaster out Madara with his Genjutsu or his Ninjutsu, in theory. The Dragon Rulers can fight that giant wood dragon he summoned, right? You remember the one he fought against Kurama? He could just, Dragon Rulers can just go against. It's a 4v1, right? You summon Blaster, Redux, Tidal, and Tempest. It's a 4v1 against that dragon. Spyro's going to do a lot of comboing, and on Firewall Pass, right? And Tillamitz is going to activate Happiness in response to whatever Madara does. Mill 3 and pray you get good mills. Now, despite all of this, Madara Uchiha takes it. I think Madara has a lot more win conditions going into his favor that kind of just blow the 5 decks out of the water. Even if Madara kind of just sits there, he understands the Madara does not recognize a whole lot of talent unless it piques his interest immensely. He's kind of just going to look at it as like, I'm not letting this happen. He's just going to finish it off endly. Remember, the Renegon's a literal cheat code. He has 7 more things added to his arsenal. And, of course, Izanagi. Izanagi is going to change the battle phase. He's like, yeah, I'm not taking any damage. Or Izanagi's going to be like, yeah, you didn't call anything with Shockmaster. Now, unfortunately for the 5 decks, Tillamitz and Zodiac is probably going to do a whole lot of lifting on their side to even stand a chance against Madara. But Madara is not going to let Chainlink 2 have this slide. He's not going to let Giant Pass slide. Oh, he's not going to stare down that number 11 Big Eye. And he's like, yeah, you ain't going to take me over. What? He's not gonna let any of that slide. He's gonna pack him up, send him back to the Forbidden Limited list. Everyone, thank you all for watching. Listen to me to talk like an idiot. Thank you again. I hope you have a wonderful day.